Hello, it is Thursday and I am so tired this morning. I was up until like 9:30, I think. I was just filling up the bags for the neighborhood stuff and doing my mailings. So I really did not realize, like when I looked at the clock and it was all done, I was like 9:30. Oh my gosh. So I was just pretty drained. But yeah, it's all done and I get to drop those off in the mail today. And then later I'm gonna be walking around the neighborhood and introducing myself and dropping those off too. But this morning we have coffee with Ben, the lender. So we're gonna go over to Tempest in Appleton. If you haven't been there, it's a really cute spot by the river. Highly recommend. They have like seasonal drinks as well. So we're gonna go over there and catch up for like an hour or so. Y'all, it is time. I am about to go door knock in my neighborhood. I have never door knocked in the 2.5+ years that I have been in real estate. So I'm a little nervous, to be honest. But I was just watching a YouTube video of like door knocking tips. Yeah, I'm losing it. But anyways, I was watching a YouTube video and one of the comments was like, just pretend you're going and knocking on your neighbor's doors. And I was like, oh, that's like literally what I'm doing. So like, why is there any reason to be nervous, you know? So I feel better about that. And I'm also like giving my neighbors items of value and like we have a conversation point because I just moved in a couple months ago. So I feel like that's how I want to start my conversation. I do have one goal, just one from this. I'm not like trying to get a certain amount of business. I'm not trying to see like if they know, you know, so many people who I can follow up with. I am simply just trying to get permission to add them to my mailing list. So I feel like that is a good goal to have. Like it's probably pretty doable, especially because I'm always just trying to provide items of value for my clients and I definitely don't want to be like that pushy salesperson. So I feel like, you know, if they say no, they say no. And I'm sure like some people will say no. But also it's like you have nothing to lose. Like I'm literally just sending you out free mail, free info, stay in the know with the market. And so I feel like my success rate is going to be pretty good. I just feel like mail is a good thing. It's a little more expensive than like emailing, obviously. I mean, it is more expensive because email is free and this is not. But this is just, I don't know. I just feel like it leaves a lasting impression and people get to see your name in their mailbox all the time. So right now I am actually cutting out these little tags that I'm gonna staple onto the bags if people are not home. Because like I said, my number one goal from doing all of this is to get more contacts in my database and to build relationships with my neighbors. So I already met a few of them, but I am excited to meet everyone on the street, get to know them a little bit better. And so I have these little notes right here and they say, sorry I missed you. Please let me know if you'd like to receive my quarterly newsletters with a smiley face. And then take care, Marissa. So I was originally gonna write them out by hand, but I wanted to have like 30 or so, just in case, let's say everyone's not home. Because I'm doing 30. I made up 30 bags. So that's just like preparing for the worst. Like if no one is home, like I have enough of these. Hey y'all, I am back. That was a lot for me, to be totally honest. I'm very introverted. I don't know if I've said that on my YouTube channel before, but going around and knocking on strangers' doors and like if they answered, it was pretty easy and like to have a conversation with them, but just the process and like the build up to it and like just going. And I mean, I was watching that video before I went, and like they truly said like the hardest door to knock on, or the hardest door to open, it said is your own, first of all, to get out there, and then the first one. So I guess I can attest to that. It definitely got easier as I knocked on more doors, and I even we have this house in our neighborhood that just went all out for Halloween, and I was very proud of myself because I love Halloween, but I had no problem going up to this door, and their decorations are like super creepy. So I would like to give myself a pat on the back. I feel like I'm like beating myself up over it. And I considered not even coming back and filming right away and just like taking a second. But like I'm looking, I made 30 bags, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 left. So that means that I went to 24 houses. I would say 5 to 10. I would say somewhere between 5 and 8, actually. 5 and 8 probably answered their door because it is Thursday afternoon. So a lot of people aren't even home or they're busy. But then the rest of the people, I just kind of hung it up there, and it definitely got like a little defeating, like, you know, when people didn't come to the door and I just had to hang it up. But I was so glad that I was prepared. Like with these bags, they have like obviously the handle, so I could hang them on the door. And then I also made up those little notes that said, you know, on the front, sorry I missed you. So I felt very prepared. However, I didn't get any names written down. Even the people who like me already, and I've met them and we kind of hit it off when we were chatting, I kind of found it hard to ask, like straight up. I was like, hey, if you don't already have another real estate agent that you use and recommend, like I'd love to be that person. I send my newsletters out 4 times a year, and I make them on myself. And like people were very receptive to it, but I just I couldn't ask them like, okay, so can I have your address? Like the lead into that was like a little odd, and like I could tell that like some people were really gonna like this, and they're like, okay, like I'll have to talk to, you know, my wife or my husband about it. And I got a lot of, I'm not looking to sell right now. And so after I got that one time, I made sure to preface with, I'm not trying to get you to sell. Obviously, we live in this neighborhood, we know it's a great neighborhood, and we don't want to sell anytime soon. So I was like, that's not the point of them. I just want to build a good relationship, introduce myself, and if you know anyone who would need a good agent on their side, that hopefully you'll think of me. Hey, it is editing Marissa here, and it's funny because I'm almost wearing the same thing as last week when I went door knocking. However, I just wanted to jump in and talk about what I would have done differently now watching this all back. We've always been told to practice our lines and get comfortable with asking people like the tough questions, and I think that's one thing that if I were to have phrased it slightly differently, I would have gotten a better response. So this is my advice to you if you are planning on going door knocking. I would have said, hey, I like to send out these newsletters 4 times a year. And they're like, oh, okay. And say, hey, is that something you'd be interested in receiving? I feel like that question would have gotten me so much more of a success rate and gotten me what I wanted, because just coming and saying like, hey, I send these out, blah, blah, blah. They're like, okay, cool. And like, that's what I would say too. If someone came up to me, like, I wouldn't be like, okay, so do you want my address? Like, you have to ask. And so I think that's the number one thing that I would have done differently. is I would have said, like, is this something you're interested in receiving? And if they said yes, I'd be like, okay, great. Well, can I take down your address? Boom. That would have saved me a lot of heartache. But anyways, that's all I have to say. Keep watching. I have a funny story coming ahead. So that was kind of how it went. And it was going pretty well, to be honest. And everyone who answered the door was very friendly and good to talk to, except for the last guy. Of course. So I was hitting up the neighbors in our backyard, so like the other street over. And I went to the ones who are like directly in our backyard, like the ones who we can see their yards as well. And I was like, hey, I'm actually like your backyard neighbor. And one guy was like, seemed like his girlfriend was actually going to reach out to me. So that went really well. And then I was kind of like, okay, let's just do one more house. Like they aren't really visible from our backyard, but I was like, let me just do one more on this street. So I go up to the door and I'm waiting. I waited about like 10 seconds, maybe 10 to 15. And if I heard them moving around in there trying to get to the door, I would kind of wait. But I probably waited 10 to 15 seconds after I like knocked on the door or rung the doorbell. And then if they didn't answer, I would take one of these and staple the sorry I missed you note to the top, and I would leave it there and then just move on. But this one guy was coming to the door and I was like, oh my gosh, like I am on a streak, because I on that road only went to like 4 houses and 3 out of 4 people answered the door. So I was like, holy crap, like I'm on a streak. But this guy answered the door and I was like, hey, I just want to introduce myself. Like I'm sort of your backyard neighbor. And I'm also, I don't even know if I got to say like I'm also a real estate agent. I don't even think I got to that part. I was just like, I was about to get to it. I was like, I just wanted to give you one of these. And I like hand out this bag of like free stuff with candy. And he just goes, no, thank you. And I was like, oh, are you sure? I was like, it's just candy in a newsletter. And he goes, no, I'm not interested, but thank you. And I was just like, oh, okay. So then, of course, being the people pleaser and introvert that I am, I was like, oh shoot, like just defeat. Like I didn't think about all of the good that had happened before that. And like how I got my butt out of the door today and like went in and did that, and that was like something that's very scary to me. For going around your neighborhood, I think this was really good to do. I definitely don't regret doing it, and I would do it again, to be honest. But I think just door knocking in random neighborhoods, like this really gave me a commonality with the neighbors. I was like, I just moved in, and they were like, oh, where, which house? Like they were interested and they were like happy to meet me. And the one thing that I also really loved is I got to meet another neighbor who had just moved in, like more recently than us even. And so I got to welcome them to the neighborhood. And it's just a little difficult, I think, to just go out and like meet people when you're newer, but then to have these people, like all of our surrounding neighbors are so nice. Like our immediate side-by-side neighbors, so incredibly nice. They came up to me and Max and introduced themselves and kind of like went out of their way. They're so friendly. And so it just kind of felt nice to be that person too, who just went up to them and was like, hey, I know you guys just moved in, like now you know someone. So yeah, pat on the back. Very successful day, very successful week already. Probably gonna take these to the post office, and I'm going to just jump off the ledge again, because the other day when we had that class, it was kind of all about database, and it jogged my memory of more people who I knew and liked, who I wanted to add to my database, but I don't have their information yet. So that's what I'm gonna do this afternoon, is message all of them and see if I can send them a fall newsletter to get things kind of rolling and have their address on hand and stuff like that. You want to know what we are ending today on a high note because I haven't actually finished messaging everyone yet, and I literally just messaged them, so maybe they'll message me back after work. But I just messaged probably 15 to 20 people about wanting to send them my fall newsletter. These are people who are not currently on my mailing list, but these are people that I went to high school with, either college with, maybe I coached them for cheerleading. I know them somehow, some way, and I want to add them to my mailing list because I like them and I would love to work with them. So anyways, message them, and I already got 3 people who messaged me back with their address interested in receiving my newsletters. Hello and happy Friday. We have made it to the end of the week, and this morning I got to go on a walk with a friend at 1,000 Islands in Kokana. If you haven't been there, it's very pretty. Lots of different areas to walk and things to see, so would highly recommend that. And then I got home, cleaned up a little bit, and now I am just updating my database with some more of the people who got back to me in regards to my fall newsletter. I added probably, I would say 15 to 20 people to my database just from yesterday. So that was very successful, and now I am working on addressing all of those fall mailings. I don't know if I'll get to actually putting them in the mail today, just because I have to go to the post office to do that. But maybe tomorrow, otherwise I will for sure on Monday. So that's pretty much all I'm doing for today, just addressing these envelopes and stuffing them with my fall newsletter. I hope you enjoyed following along, and I enjoyed taking you along. I can't wait to do many more of these and show you some more of our house and our projects that we have going on, and yeah, all of that fun stuff.